Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Well, Mike, I figured their Matchroom's got to be asleep by now, so we ain't got to worry about, you know, pissing anybody off
Are
today.
you kidding me? You go live and alarms go off all through the Matchroom headquarters. all of a sudden, WhatsApp messages get sent back and forth, and it's like someone on sentry duty. Someone's got to stay up all night and check this out and hit the hot button when we come
Let's
out.
hope not. You know what I mean? Because we're coming in real hot today, buddy. How are you? You doing all right?
Doing good. It's the start of the Hanoi Open.
Yeah.
Tonight, U.S. time.
Yeah, I think I know I saw Federer's post where he's like 12:30 and it's plus 12 on Central, so midnight, tonight. So
yeah, they're 12 hours ahead. It makes it nice and easy if you're in Central.
Yeah. So I'll be my schedule's already been kind of fucked up already because of parity, which was great, by the way. We're gonna jump on into that and of course Moritz and all that good stuff, but it doesn't do me any favors when it comes to like getting any beauty sleep. That's for sure, buddy. So, but what we do, what we got to do, I guess. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that's right. You got to take one for the team.
I guess if you were to look on social media today on the Matchroom page, they're going to tell you, hey, we got the best players on the planet there in Hanoi, and all these things, and we're going to jump into that as well. So, two events going on this week, Mike. But for sure, the storyline coming out of the weekend is Moritz, and my man snaps off another one. Give me your initial thought. Give me your initial thought on the tournament that he had out there in the Perry, Mike.
Well, I mean, total clutch. Because that he's gunning for Reyes, he's gunning for Mosconi, and he was in situation where he had to come close to snapping it up and not snapping it off, and beats both co-brothers, beats Sky. It was a monster field. We all know that. So it's great. It's great to see. He's just a good kid, hard worker. And now he's, he's $50 behind FSR. And so, that's pretty good. That's pretty good work.
Yeah.
Claudio Cacci's still in reaching distance. Jonas is still in reaching distance. Jonas would have to win, obviously, but it's great.
Yeah, no, I think for me, it was the finish. Was by far the best. And we've both been fans of his, and he's been on the fringe. You know what I mean? Like even going back to last year, we talked about the U.S. Open performance where he was, notoriously sick, and we were kind of like a little. I don't want to say disappointed because it's just like you kind of hope that he would kind of take that next step. And this past weekend was it for me, Mike. And when you combine the factors of big name signature wins along with an intense environment, I think that's the recipe for me when it comes to like the next, the next who's gonna be in. And I think if you're Matchroom, Moritz kind of saved the day. He kind of saved their ass a bit, Mike, because he really just validated this merit-based system that, if you were to look on that intense interview that Emily had with Matchroom, she was carrying that flag on merit and sport and all these things, and it was a bit cringe.
Yeah, well, we'll see when we look on the site and we see that Moritz is facing Federer in the first round and Jason Shaw in the second round, and Francisco's playing three guys from Peru. Well, no, I shouldn't say that because the guys in Peru are really good. But anyway, three guys from someplace where nobody plays. Yeah. Then we'll know something's up. How cool would it be to get to the final 64 and they face off?
Well, let me ask you this: who's going to be coming out of the loser bracket then? If it's going to be Fran and Moritz, in the round of 64. Who's going to be on the winners? Who's going to be on the losers?
I don't know, but it wouldn't matter. Wouldn't matter to me if they were facing each other in a round of 64 or around. They could face each other in a round of 32 if they both came out of the winners. So, I would just love to see them. I'd love to see the bracket and see them a round or two ahead, ready to go head to head, because they would have like if it was they were going to play in a round of 16 or a round of 32. You'd have a real sweat in that first match for both of them. They'd both be looking over their.
I mean, look,
they'd both be.
Let me ask you this, Mike: if Moritz were to leap Fran right by the $50, because right now Fran's sitting $50 ahead over Francisco, and if you look on the rankings, you guys can check that out on WNT on one of their rankings. Who knows? They by themselves they have so many rankings, but there for the Reyes Cup, he's sitting $50 ahead. If Moritz were to leap Fran, would you still expect Francisco to be on Reyes Cup?
No, I think this is win or go home for the two of them.
You think so?
I mean, you and I have already talked about this. Who's he going to take the place of? Jason, Sky, or Huang?
You're talking about no, but they're on different teams. Huang isn't going to be on the world team, so
that's right. Huang, yeah. With the losers, you're right. I'm sorry. I keep doing it with Huang. I don't know what the hell is my problem. I want him to play on Team Europe, if it's Jason and Sky and there's a spot, I would think that there's a pretty good chance that Fran would still be in there.
Yeah,
and it really you look at it, honestly at this point, if they both go 32, 16, whatever, I would think they'd both be on, don't you?
Well, we talked about that fifth spot being open for the world team, quite a bit, and we kind of toyed around the idea of Kachi, although both of us are in agreement that him being in Bali this week isn't going to do him any favors on getting selected for said team. So from a storyline standpoint, and for what you'd be looking into the following week, right, in terms of the Philippines, that would be more compelling for me. But if Moritz were to go and do it, number one, I think it's just great because he had to earn it the hard way. I think things were set up and things were in place to where like him and Jonas and Pius and all these kids who are in that who are not going to make it in as far as the top European, right? I don't think they're going to get a matchroom wild card. Whereas now this week going into it, to your point, if you were to go and let's say make a 32 or 64 run and Fran were to go further, I guess like if your matchroom, because me and you've been talking a lot of shit in terms of like, how much merit based is this system going to be? So like even if Moritz were to go and fizzle, I think if you're matchroom, you still you put them in just to kind of save face in terms of it being professional and merit and all these things. Does that make sense, Mike?
It does. Yeah.
And I think it kind of saves her ass a little bit, but like kudos to Moritz because he was in that same spot as like a Jonas type player. He comes out with a strong win. I was up that night watching that match with Sky Mike. I think it was around like midnight, 10 o'clock, somewhere around there, whenever they got kicked off out there at the Perry. And he just put on a clinic, Mike. I mean, I think it was something like 10-2 or 9-2.
Yeah, he went out.
He was coming out guns a-blazing. And we all know, like, we all kind of thought like this is his ceiling, right? Like we know that he can kind of compete with these top Europeans. We speak of him in the same sense as like, the 6 through 10 type guys in terms of Europeans. But like, that he's not checking off the boxes in terms of excitement and things like that. So he's going to have to get these points in order to get on these teams. And we've talked about it before that like rookies have to earn their way on. He did it, and he did it in a monster type way, Mike. You talk about beating Sky. You beating both co-brothers heading into like in order to solidify that championship. I don't think it gets much tougher than that, Mike. The only thing I would say that could be tougher is beating Huang in Vietnam. You know what I mean? In a final.
Yeah, right. So we're sure that Cledio's in Bali because I did not see him on the.
Let me see. I'm gonna turn off the chat for a little bit, you guys, and I'm gonna bring up the current rankings as they stand. I haven't looked at on the website. Maybe you can check out WNT live scores.
Well, I looked at Predators. events.
So this is where they stand right now, Mike, for the top whatever.
I saw Eklund Kachi, but I didn't see Cledio. So
let me see. I'm kind of browsing through here, half-ass on the live stream.
But Cledio is in Bali.
Cledio's in Bali as well. So then you would kind of imagine the writings on the wall, then, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. Then if that's the case, because I thought that he was playing, the original list I saw from Bali had Eklund on, but not Cledio, and I thought, well, maybe Cledio is going after Mosconi Reyes money and going to Hanoi, but then I saw he wasn't on Hanoi list, and now he did show up on the Predator list. So if that's the case, then I got to be honest with you, unless Jonas finishes first or second, I think that Fran and Moritz are the two picks.
Yeah, I think.
Who would you say against that? Anything?
No, I mean you would have to have an outright winner, in order to spoil that party for him, and I think that like and there was always
so if a Jonas or a Mickey or a PS1, if a Jonas or a Mickey or a PS won the event outright, it would be tough to leave them up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, look, I guess at that point you would just value how much you would weigh Hanoi over Perry, and so that's where you would value Hanoi over Perry, Mike.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
It's a bigger tournament.
Is it though? Is it a bigger tournament than the Perry?
Yeah. Well, prize money is bigger. In first place is bigger.
No, Mike. They're both status is both 200,000.
25,000 for first at Perry, 40,000 for first in Hanoi.
No. Perry was 40. That's how Moritz made the jump. Perry was 40K. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe our man Richard Walker can hit us up with some stats. He always does a real good job. But Perry, I'm pretty sure.
When we had the last show, we looked at the Perry breakdown.
I think for sure, yeah. But listen. The show's not called Dogging It out of coincidence, Mike. You know what I mean? Like it's. Let's just be real about it. You know what I mean? We've been known to have pie on our face.
Jeez, all the advanced work we put into these shows, you'd think we would.
Right, yeah. No, but it's you talk about 200K, 40K for first. I think it's still 40 for Perry. I'm sorry for Hanoi as well. So I mean, it's kind of the equivalent of like back to back. Jimmy Bluffett in the chat says 200K. James says it's a little tougher field in Perry. I would agree. Like I would value what Moritz did in the Perry over Hanoi. Now I know Matchroom will share this thing like it's the biggest thing since sliced bread, but the reality is the depth of the field for back-to-back years, mind you, that Perry is about as premier a single, like in other words, like a individual tournament as you can ask for. Like outside of what Matchroom dubs as a major, Mike, you know what I mean? So, and with that field,
yeah, it is, but then to me, the only thing that separates, so if the prize money is the same, the field's the same, and the prize money, according to something that I'm looking at now, shows that Perry was 40, 20, 10 for first through fourth quarterfinalists. So that's the same money. So it's the same money. Pretty much the same field. Then I give the edge to Hanoi because it's more under the gun. It's more, it's brighter lights. It's more pressure. It's bigger audiences. So then from that standpoint, I would give Hanoi the edge.
It's close, but I'm still.
Well, it's the exact same field with the exact same money.
It's not the exact same. Mike, half of the monsters are out in Bali now, and then by the way, the two of the guys who were in the final whatever it was 8, both Cole brothers, mind you, are not in Hanoi. So you if you have two Cole brothers who are not in Hanoi, SVB's not in Hanoi, Filler is not in Hanoi, you can't dub it as like the toughest field of the year, and you can't compare it, in my opinion anyway, to the Perry. Now I know the atmosphere is a little different, but the only thing that I would say in terms of the atmosphere is just the stadium itself. You know what I mean? And but
Yeah.
but that pool room still gets pretty thick. It gets real deep when it comes to the end of the event, and you're right there. Like you are right on top of the players the entire time with the oohs and and the ahs part of it as well. You know, like look, I think that Hanoi's got that kind of potential. You know, as far as it being the best event of the season. You know, but you got to bump up the prize money a little bit. And listen, we need to have all the best players on the planet there. Like it would be so much better.
Do we know where the Koh brothers are at?
I think they're in China, Mike, if I'm not mistaken.
Why?
I'm assuming for some paintball stuff.
I mean,
but I'm not 100%. So
so if they're not in Hanoi, but they're not in Bali, are they penalized the same for the people who aren't in Hanoi but are in Bali?
Well, that's going to be an interesting conversation, Mike, because you you have been on the record in saying that Carlo was told that if he's not playing Hanoi, he's not playing in Reyes. You know, so then by that precedent, right? With that precedent in mind, the fact that the Cole brothers are not going to be in Hanoi now, they're not going to be in Bali, so maybe that's playing ball a little bit without playing ball. But the fact that they're not going to be in Hanoi, does that then exclude them from playing in the Reyes Cup as well, Mike? You know, and we saw that the year before when it comes to filler, right?
Yeah. There's some weird shit going on here, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Koh brothers, and it's like a whole different fly in the ointment. It's like, wait a second, you guys are no place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you would have imagined them playing in Indonesia, like if all things were just fair across the board, you know, because of the World Championship, because of the bigger prize money. I know A-ball may not be their game or whatever, right, or whatever it is, but like they could be a Taiwanese mixed doubles team. Now I know they're not going to be the Taiwanese team because obviously they're not there, but yeah, you would for sure fancy their chances in any of those events out there in Bali. So it's interesting, but I'm just curious to see what the fallout is, if any, when it comes to the Koh brothers, because you have to have a player from the Taiwanese market, Mike, right? And those two guys are A1 talent, you know. So I don't think there's any way in hell that you're not going to have them on the Reyes Cup, at least one of them. But it's like if you're a player like a Carlo, if you're a player like an SVB who's going to get left off of this team's event, how are you feeling if you're going to see them get the nod either way?
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm hearing that the Kohs are in Duya playing Chinese nine ball.
Yeah. So like it's basically 8-ball, but just 9-ball. Yeah. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So
well, you got to assume that Matchroom had the heads up on that. That wasn't any sneaky move, and yeah, I don't know. It's really an interesting one. Man, oh man.
Yeah, and listen, Koping Chung's about the hottest player on the planet. You know, I mean, coming off a World 10-ball championship, a semifinal in the Perry event, right? Like he's playing with about as much momentum in every game as you can think of. You know, being in the month of October, Mike. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next, I guess, 5-7 days play out, you know, and I'd imagine that we're going to get an announcement when it comes to every player for the Reyes Cup over the next coming days and all these things. And you kind of see the writing on the wall with Matchroom already talking with Jason and talking with Fran and talking with Huang. It's like, they're not even, I mean, they're mentioning Moritz obviously, but it's like, they're just kind of regurgitating these same storylines for the sake of like, it's coming, but it's going to be a surprise, but it's coming, you know? And so it's interesting.
Yeah, you got it rolling today. I know it's like I feel bad I didn't come in better prepared because you're ready for warfare.
Well,
and you're like ready to get.
Look, here's the deal. When it comes to playing the game in terms of like the narrative and all these things, Mike, I just don't want to be made to be a fool of. You know what I mean? And when I see like when I see posts saying like all the best players on the planet there and all these things, and it's like, man, it's so cringe to me, Mike, because you're you're looking the
Yeah.
other way on guys who you've touted over the last like 7 years, you know, and then now all of a sudden because they don't want to play your event, now you're gonna look the other way on them like they're a bunch of scrubs. You know what I mean? And it's a little disrespectful, you know, especially when you think about the resume that like a Josh type player or a Shane type player has, you know, and these are number one guys, Mike. You know, so that's
Yeah.
the part where like I don't mind talking a little bit more shit about it because it's like, listen, you're setting yourself up for it with you just saying these things that are clearly not the case. You know, so
Yeah.
that's the part
Yeah.
that's a little frustrating. But like I said, kudos to Moritz because whenever we think about Reyes Cup and especially Mosconi Cup, which he's in prime position for now too as well, it's like we talk about how these rookies can kind of fold when it comes to that bigger stage and when it comes to playing bigger names. The names that he played getting that win, and for me that's a major, Mike. Perry's a major.
Yeah.
Getting those wins
Well,
is pretty solid, especially considering the environment, Mike.
yeah. No, it was amazing what he did, and he's kind of done it all the right
Yeah.
way. You know, he's kind of seen the steps of progress. It wasn't like, you know, someone who came in out of no place. It wasn't, you know, no disrespect, but it wasn't Mickey Krause winning last year. You've seen this one coming very, you know, um, you know, you've seen it coming step by step. So, um, yeah.
Some funny comments. We can see the chat, you guys, even though it's not up on the screen per se.
Well, he was salty. I can see the chat.
You can't see the chat, Mike? I'll put it on here.
Oh,
Let me.
no, I just noticed. Right, I had the button turned off on my screen.
So let me ask you this, Mike. Considering the fact that Moritz picks up 40K, puts himself in prime position, like in the last minute, right? Like basically, it's the fourth quarter, it's the 2 minute warning. You got to go for a Hail Mary or bust at this point if you were him, because neither one of us, even though we know where he's at in terms of their rankings, neither one of us would have imagined him making that team otherwise. Right? Is that a fair statement, Mike?
Yeah. No, he's Baker Mayfield, man.
That's a pretty disrespectful comparison. Like Baker Mayfield, really? That's the one you go with?
Oh, come on, man. Baker's the baddest man in football.
Hey, look.
Baker doesn't take shit from anybody. He'll go there. If you want the guy who's going to be the coldest in the last 2 minutes of a game and you need points, give him the ball.
He's got heart. You can't deny that. He's got a little bit of like Brett Favre in him. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of gunslinger, you know, and he's going to lay
he's
it
got
all
a little
out.
more shit talk to him than Brett Favre. Yeah, no, he can make things happen. And Moritz coming in there in the fourth quarter, you're the one who said 2 minute warning, and it's like it was time to drive downfield. He did it. So I think that, you know, again, now that I came in a little bit slow on who's playing where and how much the prize money was, because last time we did look it up, the Perry Open, didn't we? And it said 25. It was weird because we were trying to figure out how they could have the same prize fund and have a different first prize like that, $15,000 different. But anyways, all that aside, you know, the more I look at this, you know, with Cledio not being there, because I thought he was going to be there because he wasn't on the original, you know, Bally list. Now that he's not there, I don't see how, like I said, Jonas, Mickey, Pius, one of those guys has to win this event to me for it not to be Fran and Moritz, at least in Reyes. At least Reyes and Mosconi.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. You know, and he's kind of like,
because one of those guys could do really well in Hanoi and the Philippine Open, and all of a sudden they're legit point earners for Mosconi. So Mosconi wouldn't be locked up until Philippines if one of these guys did what one of these other guys did well in Hanoi.
Let me tell you something, Mike. Now I know the prize money is about half of what the Perry was, or I think it's like 125 versus 200,000 with Philippines Open. But like if a guy like Jonas were to go deep in the Philippines Open, for me, now again, prize money aside, because you know there's like Ken says in the chat, you know, about rankings being flawed and things like that. Like if Jonas were to go deep in the Philippines, and I'm talking like semifinals or bust, basically. But if you were to go deep, fuck, I would highly value that, Mike, because atmosphere, tough conditions, tough field. You know, the format by itself is brutal. You're talking about single elimination um, from the jump. Like, it doesn't get more cutthroat and ruthless than that event in terms of the format. Now, I know that the depth of the field when it comes to like name players isn't going to be the same, but the sleepers are going to be unreal. You know what I mean? And the traps are going to be unreal in that Philippines Open. You know, because there's going to be a lot of unknowns that everybody in that market knows them, but the average fan doesn't necessarily know them as well. You know.
Did you see the list of all the Filipinos in Hanoi?
Listen, I think so it's 256, right? I think 64 on qualifiers. And I think like I'd imagine probably like a quarter of them are Filipinos, might be my guess. I mean, it's deep.
It looked like there's 50. It looked like there's 50 Filipinos.
Yeah. I mean, it's the who's who and just also some up and comers as well when it comes to that mix of Filipinos. And look, I think when you talk about like a major all things considered, Hanoi is right there for me when it comes to like I'm trying to think. Like, I put it above the European, even though we haven't had that. I put it above the UK. I don't put it above the US Open, but it's close. You can't compare the atmosphere.
Which event?
Hanoi.
Which event? Hanoi or Paris?
Hanoi. Okay. You know, so, but from what I'm imagining, the next few days are going to look like, as far as the crowd thickening up and all these things, like, you know, there's going to be a lot of pressure and the expectations for that matter as well. And that's the reason why, like, for what Moritz did this past weekend, you know, look, we talk about guys who need to take steps. And in order to get on a European team or to get on a world team, you're going to have to win something big. Now, I know we valued Moritz last year and part of the year prior as well, Mike, but like comparing a regional event versus what that Perry was, you know, is pretty fucking strong, Mike. You know, and that's the making for me anyway. Now, again, he still has to live up to it, but you want to talk about a foundation for living up to for being the next guy up, the next man in line, right? Like, now you prove you can do it. Now you got to go out there and just start punching away. You know what I mean? And just start continuing to stack up big wins and all that, Mike. So I'm excited to see how Moritz fares. It's interesting for me, Mike, when I look at like what Matchroom's pushing today. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like Moritz coming off a big win. They want to talk about the $50 difference, and you look on who they're pushing on TV table one. It's the same names: Jason, Federer, Chua, and it's like it's all the same things over and over again. You know, and so you know what I mean. So it's like you would think, like, if the merit and the system and all these things are going to be so important, like, man, I'm putting Moritz right up number one. Send him out there. Let's see how he does. You know what I mean? And I'm going to squeeze the life out of that storyline that I can. But I guess we'll see how the next few days play out. Like, let me ask you this, Mike. Who do you think is going to have a deeper run out there in Hanoi?
Fran or Moritz in that one?
Yeah.
Man, it just they both get to the final 64. Then to me, it's the draw. It's just such a gamble with how that draw turns out once you get to the final 64. But you know, I don't know. I think I would, if I had to throw my money one way or the other, I would probably throw it behind Fran.
I would too, Mike. I really would. And
it's a hell of a hot streak, and you just wonder, you go 2 tournaments in a row like that. That's
well, unless your name is Federer or Koping Chung or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna. I don't think you can go and crown them until you go and earn that kind of like when you speak about them. You know what I mean? So that's where I think it becomes a little tough. But to me, Mike, the one that I would put more weight on, and I want to get your opinion on this, is that Fran's got a lot of TV table experience. Moritz, not so much, you know. And I think that's where it's a proven commodity in that Fran doesn't buckle so much under that pressure and knows that table and how different it's going to play, more consistent. I think you're going to see him get more TV table matches as well. So that's where I would put more of a value on Fran. But if you
Yeah.
want to talk about momentum currently, I mean, it's Moritz all day, every day, right? Right now, anyway,
Right.
between the two, you know.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so along with
Fran shows tends to show up when Fran needs to show up. That's for sure.
Well, he stays loose, you know, and Fran knows what it's like to play with expectations, TV
Right.
table, all these things. When it comes to intangibles of top players, Mike, I mean, I'm going to put more of a weight on, you know, and it's like, and it goes back to that same thought where unless you've done it, I'm not going to give you credit for it just yet. Does that make sense? So that's where Moritz, while you listen, Moritz, fucking clutch, dude. Fucking real clutch. And especially with that fifth spot being open and having to fade the politics of matchroom and all these things, it's like you did it your way, you know?
Yeah.
And so obviously I'm gonna be rooting for Moritz, but the other side of the coin is, like I mentioned earlier when I asked you, if Moritz were to beat Fran, I still expect Fran to be on there. Now, if Fran beats Moritz, I'm not 100% that I'm going to see Moritz.
Yeah, you're
out
right.
there.
You're right on that. You're right on that. It's not as much of a guarantee if Fran finishes ahead of Moritz.
Yeah.
I think it would be. I don't know who else you pick. Like I said, unless one of these other guys has a monster, unless one of these other guys has a monster Hanoi, then I don't know how you leave them off. I don't know who you would rationalize. You know, you can't go. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you can go down the list, see how far you got to go to find David. But
imagine how David's feeling today, Mike. You know, because he's the guy you would have like. Listen, if all things were open and fair, right? Obviously, you're going to go with Filler, Kachi, and then it's everybody else, right? When it comes storylines and it's Filler way ahead, and then Kachi next, and then everybody else. But like when it comes to playing the matchroom game, right? David would have been right there as far as the guy you would have thought, given the experience and all these factors. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like David's got to feel like he's getting the short end of that stick this morning. But at the same time, David can step up as well. So it's like I don't want to discredit him or count him out just yet either, you know? So the problem is you got to come with like a grand slam in like the bottom of the ninth if you're David. You know, like you're back as up against the ball as possible.
But we've seen him do that before.
Well, we have, yeah. You know. But we talk about like the youth of you know the WNT tour and just pool in general, you know, and so it's like odds are not going to be in his favor, you know, and that's the brutal part of it. And like I said, given the fact that, I was just going to say, I mean, given how much we've kind of shit on the merit side of things, I think this gives Matchroom that out, which is going to be vital going into the end of this event, because it's like you can really hang your hat on. excuse me, you can really hang your hat on. Oh, it's merit, it's professional, it's you can earn your way on. Come, you know, all these things. And so that gives you that out. You know what I mean? So that's the part where I think either way, I would lean towards Moritz, you know? So I guess we'll see, you know? So, but the other side of it is like, you're still going to be the guys who are going to be automatics without being automatic. You know who they are, you know where we're going to see them, you know? So it's like, how loose and free are they going to play and what kind of run they can go on? So,
yeah, well, but if you know, it's a 256 field, but it's significantly watered down. Because all these guys, you know, should go deep. They should, you know, most of these guys should
Mike?
be
I mean,
32.
Moritz lost his very first match in Perry. You know, like, you know, stranger things have happened. Like if you were to go 2 out,
but you don't expect them not to get to 64.
No. Especially given momentum and all these things, you know. Yeah. But at the same time, like you don't know how Moritz performs with the letdown, right? Like you finally got there, you finally picked up a big payday, you're finally getting some goddamn respect on your name, you know. So like, can you keep that same hunger and drive? Because listen, you're close, you're right there.
I don't.
Job ain't done.
Wasn't. Yeah, this was. I don't know about letdown because this wasn't the end. This was the means to an end, and the end to me is Reyes / Mosconi, right? So, so I don't see a letdown on his part at all. He's young, you know. It's more, you know. I think he's gonna be hungrier than ever. You know, do you get overamped or or do the odds just go against you after the run you've had? You don't know. But I don't see complacency or exhaustion, let down messing with this kid at all.
We think so. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I just playing devil's advocate here. I just until I see it, that's where I'm going to go with it up until this point. And so obviously, like I said earlier, I'm rooting for him. I hope he does because, like, the way that things have kind of gone over the last 45 days or so, like these were seeing the Piases and the Mickeys and Jonas and Mickey's. I mean, I'm sorry, and Moritz. It's like these are the guys you want to see where it's like you know that they are more deserving than other players, and the rankings will tell you that, especially as the teams get announced. But it's like when it comes to that popularity contest, you're way underneath it. So it was gonna be like a run like this or bust. And in this case, when it comes to Moritz, like he fucking got there. You know what I mean? Like he got there and got there like in style as well, Mike. That's the other thing too. So, we'll see how it plays out over the next coming days. Look, for me, that talking point is gonna be about as much as I can get out of this event, if I'm being honest with you, Mike. And even then, like it's not the greatest talking point on earth. I mean, it's cool, it's great, good for Moritz and all these things, but it's like it's still so much less than what it could be, going into the Reyes and Philippines Open and all these things. So and Hanoi for that matter as well. So
yeah, I think they just we know that they've had their hands kind of tied a little bit. We've talked about it being kind of flat, Reyes and Mosconi, and things being changed late in the game or whatever. But that with the confusion and with the other events on top of these events, it was a moving target the whole year long on who's playing where, who's going to commit to what, who's going to do whatever. So, there was a lot of treading water while everybody else made up their minds, right? So
I mean,
not overly surprising to me that it's been a little bit flatter than normal.
Yeah, and I think like that's that's part of the difficulty when it comes to competing organizations and promotions, But I think like, and this is the part where the reason why like I'll talk shit about it is because like we see the potential of what could be, right? Like if and that's the part where it's like, God damn, man, like just
all these events were one right after another for 8 weeks. It would have been out of control.
Dude, Mike, we're dissecting Ko Ping Chung versus Ko Ping Yi. We're dissecting. Like imagine you think about a Federer and Filler team. I don't care who else. A Federer and a Filler team going up against the Asians. That's when you think like, man, this has got legit potential. But given the score line of last year, I'm not, and who we think is going to be on this team, I'm not so sure that it's going to be all that dramatic come the following week. You know what I mean? So I hope I'm wrong. And I hope Jeremy gets them, gets the guys fired up and keep motivated and all these things. But like we mentioned before, we expect them to be a little handcuffed here. And so it's.
Well, we've been saying all along we expect Team Asia to be pretty much the same team as last year. But now all of a sudden, question mark with do we have a co or do we don't have a co?
Yeah. I mean, like they aren't. I haven't heard Matthew mention it any at all. At least in the stuff that the little bit of things that I've been seeing on social media from them, as far as them not being there, and from what I saw of Emily's post earlier, Bustamante is going to be there, and she's like he's going to be checking out the talent and all these things. I think the team's already made up. I think you think the same thing, but it's like that would be a talking point. But if that's the case, then go all in with it. Code brothers are off the table. Who's going to take their spot? And so then that becomes compelling. But the fact they look the other way on it and don't want to address it, but then still want to make it seem like it's some dramatic event, whether the Asian team's going to be different or not, that's where I have a hard time buying in a little bit, So, and in the meantime, look, you still got a World 8-Ball Championship that's going to be played out there in Bali, a men's World 10-Ball, which, listen, we've been barking for a World Cup of Pool for a long time, Mike. For the last 2 years now. And so for them to kind of, put a spark plug into not that event, but as close to that event as we can get, is pretty cool. And I know it's not listen, it's not the best American team that you can put together. It's not the best any team you can put together, but it's still going to be a pretty fun dynamic and a different twist and all these things, Mike. So and
Yeah.
Team Germany is looking pretty good, Mike, with Felix and Josh on there as well. So I guess we'll see how it plays out, given the fact that
Kachi brothers gonna be pretty
I didn't
strong.
think about that. That's going to be a real good one. But see, that's the part that pisses me off. It's like, man, if Claudio was in Hanoi, man, I'd be real fired up right now. I would be more fired up, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
So, and whatever the reasoning into him not being there, like, man, I would have, moved mountains to try to get that kid there. I would have moved mountains to try to get Josh there for that matter as well, because then that makes it more exciting. But like all these things are just, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Mike, give me your overall thoughts on.
A lot of
Yeah, for sure. What was your take on like just the coverage of the Perry in general, Mike, and especially in comparison to how you expect Hanoi to go this week?
Well, I thought Perry was, it was a great event to follow. Obviously, killer
Right.
field. A lot of amazing players. But it's still, you've been there, so it's a huge room and it's tons of electricity and energy and fans and all that kind of stuff. But I still kind of looked at it as a lead up to Hanoi, and future that Hanoi gets bigger than it was this year. So I'm willing to give this year, a mulligan on,
Okay.
Everyone's hands were tied. People had to make decisions. Certain people went this way, certain people went that way. I hope no bridges are burned and everybody's back in action next year and they sort this shit out so that there's not these overlapping tournaments at the end of the year in Asia. Then Perry becomes a great, like the best non-WNT major, right?
That we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping out of Perry. But it's obviously a great event. It's a great room. The players love being there. It was really cool to have that kind of between Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. That's a pretty good trifecta right there.
Yeah, I mean that's
a pretty good trifecta.
Like,
so you want to see everybody playing in all three. So and then you have Rural 8-Ball on the tail end of that, and just I wouldn't sleep for a month and a half.
Well, you could theoretically have World 8-Ball while Reyes is going on, and you can have everyone who's not in Reyes there, I guess. But although we'd want to have some separation there as well, to have those 10 players.
Yeah, but if Reyes had the best teams,
then
you'd be taking a lot away from the World 8-Ball. You'd be taking a lot away from the World 8-Ball. You don't want that.
No, yeah, you're right. Look, I think they did a fucking great job, Mike.
If World 8-Ball was at the Philippines Open, I could probably live with it.
Tell me how you really feel, buddy, about the Philippines Open. No, look,
I'm just listen. If there's collab, find out what you can live without. So
No, I mean, look, I want the Philippines Open to get its same fair shake. You know what I mean? And we talk about different dynamics and how brutal that event is and all these things compared to others. But like, I would, for what the Philippines Open could be, I would hope that like it gets its own stage in that aspect, But in regards to Perry, Mike, I mean, look, from the social media of all the Vietnamese pages to the way they were streaming every single match, basically on the majority of the tables, to the tournament coverage, the play-by-play of winning and losing and all these things, like it was, dare I say, it's better than anything that I've seen all year long, and it's like all things included, like they really just knocked it out of the park when it comes to that event. And I know it's in a pool room, but that place is absolutely massive. You're talking about over 100 tables. The logistics of having so many brands come together, underneath that roof, was pretty epic. And the free platform that we got in order to be able to view some of these things really made it really made it the tournament of the year for me, Mike. Now I hope that doesn't stay the case for the rest of the year, but up until this point, I mean, it was just absolutely phenomenal what they did out there, Mike. I mean, that whoever helped get everybody on that same page, like y'all killed it, man. I mean, y'all absolutely just demolished and completely set a new precedent for what pool coverage could be, in my opinion. And so leading into Hanoi, I'm kind of like I'm a little bit spoiled here, Mike. And we're going to have a free tournament when it comes to Indonesia, a different twist in terms of doubles and 8-ball and these things. So like, and I saw a comment from a Matchroom Facebook post where they were like, I think there'll be more channels, so maybe we'll get some more streams that are going to be available. But if it's just solely behind the WNT TV paywall, then I feel like you're doing the event a little injustice, especially compared to what we were just privy to last week, Mike. So
Yeah.
there were some other storylines coming out of Perry, Mike. I saw Jason making some waves where he caught a brutal draw, and then he was complaining about the refs and 9-ball racket. And I kind of want to get your take on that. I don't know if you saw that this week or not.
Well, listen, Jason's fine. I'm fine with Jason speaking his mind. He always does. Yeah. It didn't, to me. It's easier to say sour grapes, and 90% of people on social media will jump in and say it just because it's a good, I didn't think that he treated it like that. I thought he treated it like, hey, listen, Cole Pigny had 4 dry breaks or 5 dry breaks too. This is not, this isn't about me. It's just frustrating. And then you watch the later matches, and it was a break and run fest.
Yeah.
So is it legit concern that they keep going to these big events? It is, but I don't know how they expect it to change. You don't have professionally paid referees that spend all year doing this, or if you do, there's about 6 of them, and you got 900 tables playing at one time at the Perry Open. Something's got to give. So what I didn't see in his post, and maybe he said it in the comments, is, okay, what's the solution? Knowing that you're not going to have professionally paid referees at every table for every rack, what's going to make things better for you? You tell me. And don't tell me players rack their own.
Fuck no. Not even. Never, ever do I want to see that.
Right. So you can't do that for a lot of reasons. So one is just the optics of, people playing with shit. So you just can't even allow that to happen. So if that's off the table, what did you have in mind? What makes it better? So they try to do the best they can, teaching these guys how to rack and whatever. And we see that it's just kind of futile. I don't know what the answer is. You?
I don't know that I want an answer to it. I don't know that I want a solution to it, Mike. Look,
But I don't think that their argument is without merit.
No, I think he does have a leg to stand on for sure.
So to me, the closest thing that I could come, and people are going to hate this, and I don't even know if I like it, is alternate break.
Mike, don't listen. I can't get there.
Mike.
I can't get there. SVB is never gonna win a world championship with alternate break. He's never gonna beat may rest in peace Mika coming back on alternate break.
Mika's not going to get ahead on alternate break by 11. So it's kind of it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. All right. So I love watching break and run 9-ball, and I love watching people string racks together and all that stuff. But if the racks aren't exact same for everybody, then maybe that's the only thing bridge the gap a little bit, because you're not going to do it with refs. You're not, at this point, the refs are not there quality wise. So take that off the table. Take people break rack for themselves off the table. How do you try to make it better? It's the only thing that I can think of that remotely gives each player the chance.
I think you're kind of seeing, seeing some of the like you're kind of seeing some reaction to the Jason post with some of the social media stuff I'm seeing coming out of Vietnam today and yesterday when it comes to like I'm for the first time I'm seeing, referees getting shown how to rack the balls. Listen, that's the case in every tournament. That you'll see Marcel there, you'll see the
Yeah.
Marcel there every tournament. But like you're seeing an emphasis on it when it comes to it being portrayed on social media. But look, I hate the fact that well, let me say this. When it comes to the Pro Beard series and what they've done, right? Like it's been brutal to see some slug racks with some of these players, right? But they're using a triangle compared to a template. But the alternative is I don't want to
Yeah.
see template 10 ball either, right? So like when it comes to this,
No. For 10 ball, to me, for 10 ball, it's different. It's different for 10 ball. I can live with the imperfections in 10 ball because it's a harder game to break on to start with. 9 ball to me is a little bit different because it's everything.
yeah, but see, this is where like look, I really value grit and figuring it out, and I've loved the way that this modern 9 ball break has how it's kind of been dumped on our lap. But it's here because of the likes of Jason. Because if you were to ask Emily, and we have before, who were some of the players that you listened to over the last few years? Jason's on the top of that list, Mike, along with Shane. As far as this new modern break that we've
Yeah.
fallen on. Now look, hiring you can hire refs, but see if Jason's going to like the payouts that he's going to get as a result of paying said refs or paying professional refs accordingly. So like that's the give and take. I think given the financial situation that pool is right now, I think this is about as best as you can get. And like, listen, me and you love all sports, Mike, and you get that human element when it comes to referees in all sports these days. Whether it comes to arbitrary calls of holding in the NFL, or you think about the strike zone, especially as the baseball playoffs are here for us, Mike. You know what I mean? It's like you still have the human element, and players just have to figure it out. Now you'll see umpires have a smaller strike zone compared to others, all these things, and I think this is like what we have when it comes to pool, Mike. I don't think I for sure do not want to see players racking for each other because like there
No.
is no honor
No.
amongst thieves, and I don't want to see that drama that's going to come along. Well, I mean, I guess I would want to see the drama coming along with it, but at the same time, like it's not going to end well, I don't believe. And this is part of why I can't stand Turning Stone, is because I don't want to see guys there over for 3 minutes doing the same shit and looking over, and the guy comes and inspects it. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And so
It is.
I think like given all things, this is about as good as you're going to get. Now Jason Jason kind of brings that sour grape aspect on himself when it comes to like that's him saying that, you know what I mean? And so like it's just part of
Yeah.
social media, but he does have a leg to stand on as well with it for sure. Um, the other side of it is, Mike, it's like he gets some pretty fucking tough draws, does Jason, when it comes to single elimination. Like I don't want to I don't want to give him like so much of like an easy pass when it comes to that argument, Mike. But if you were to look historically over Jason's draws over the last like, and I'm talking like not even just in matchroom events. I'm talking about go look at him in Pro Bird Series, whatever. Like he notoriously will get some pretty brutal draws, and so I think that's a part of it as well. But the same way that we saw the break and run fest later on in the tournament, like you also saw like both players have struggles, have issues when it comes to Cohen and Jason during that match as well. So it's like that's where I think in the grand scheme of things it'll balance out. You know what I mean? But in the moment it's tough, right? Because Jason had momentum, all these things, and you want to see him do well, but it just is what it is. You're up against a monster in Copenhagen. What are you going to do? So um, but yeah, I don't know. I hope there's not like some like I hope there's not some knee jerk reaction to it to go and pacify Jason. That's what I don't want to see.
No, I don't think. I don't think that we're going to see a lot of. I think Matchroom's got its hands full as it is. That Pro Billiard Series isn't going to change anything. Matchroom's got his hands full with everything else. I don't see anybody sitting around a room over the next couple of months trying to figure out new break rules. So yeah, it is what it is, and you just kind of go with it. So
look, I'm thinking like way outside the box here, Mike. But I would want to like have some random generator thing on there. And listen, that's this spot right here is where the cue ball is going to be on the break. And you're going to be forced to break wherever that spot says. And good luck to you in that match. And have it be randomly generated every single rack, because it's like I don't know what the solution is, but to me, I don't want to see alternate break. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it in one event, but I don't want to see it like be the norm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I don't either. But I just try, just trying to think. Okay, what if you can't fix the rack? What else can you fix that helps it? So
all right, okay, put them back on a triangle, and I mean like really a triangle. Like give them that triangle where like one section's broken. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen it at the bar. You've seen it at the bar before, Mike. You know what I mean? You go and pull the rack out of the valley, and the thing's just it's in that one piece is not connected to each other. But the other side is like, and here's where Jason does have a leg to stand on when he mentioned the fact that like in one part of the room you can rack your own, and then in the other part of the room you have refs. Like that's that's what's brutal. And we've heard players before say, even the likes of Federer, who's had massive success in all these things, he's mentioned, man, I don't want to play on TV table playing one pocket because I got a shot clock, and the conditions are very different. So it's like, have it be clear across the board, the conditions, and then may the best man win,
Yeah, I don't know how the heck you have part of the room doing one rack one way and part of the room another. That doesn't make any damn sense. So that's one knock against Perry.
Yeah. And let me tell you, compared to like any tournament that I've been to anywhere in the world, the amount of referees in that room, Mike, is huge for that Perry event. And I mean these, and obviously I don't know those referees personally or any of that. What's that?
How could they not? How many tables were going at one time?
I know for the opening round they'll use as many as possible. Like, and well, I take that back because I think upstairs what they'll do is each section, every other section is closed off. So like you'll have one set of like, let's say 20 tables that are going, the next set of 20 tables is off. Then the next set of 21.
They don't have enough reps.
Yeah. So, but I think, look, all things considered, they did about as good a job as you can ask for. Him saying that it's a broken game is valid though as well,
Yeah.
Two Americans made it through to the final 8, Mike, Billy, and Sky. We'd be remiss if we didn't go and address that as well, Mike. What's your optimism level like, given the fact that those two did well out there in Perry, especially considering the field out there, Mike?
Yeah, no, it was great. They both had some good wins. Great to see them, go there and be serious about it. There was a post from Sky who was like the first guy in the room practicing, which has never happened in the history of pool. So, they're taking it more seriously, and they both make it to the final 8. So, there's your rationalization for Moscone Cup.
Writing's on the wall, ain't it? Huh? No, look,
it's an indelible ink at this point.
Look, I think like.
When are they going to announce the captains for Reyes Cup? I mean, for Moscone. When?
Yeah, I mean, look.
Can you get on there for me?
Listen, if they watch this show, there ain't no fucking way they're picking up the phone call from me, Mike.
Come on, they love when you call.
No, look, I think it's when it comes to the American standard, you grasp on the positives differently than any other player on earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I like our chances.
Say that again.
I like our chances. That's the refrain every year.
Well, it gives you some kind of hope, doesn't it?
You talk yourself into it. Absolutely.
Look, getting to the final 8 of a big tournament like that, and listen, I'm not going to devalue that event talking in this subject compared to like the Moritz aspect. You know what I mean? Now, they didn't necessarily have the same draw as like a Jason, for example, in the round of 64. So like, let's just call a spade there in that aspect. But given the fact of what it was, right? They did pretty fucking good. They did pretty good, and given the fact that like there's no American drama this year compared to last year. Like, I fully expect there to be as close to the same team with the exception of maybe swapping out one, but like the fact that like a Tyler's not there just shows how comfortable, in my opinion, that he is in him getting picked for that event, and so um in the Perry.
Yeah, that was really interesting to me.
Well, I think it's just a
I
lack
was
of
surprised.
competitiveness when it comes to the Americans, Mike, and I think that's just a prime example of it. Like if he's feeling pretty comfortable, and he should, um, I don't think he's expecting anyone to go and make a
Yeah,
run
but
on
he
him.
still likes getting in there and playing. He still likes getting in there and playing all the tough events. I mean, he's never dodged them because he was feeling comfortable. I've never seen that from him before. But again, this is more about Billy and Sky, and they both did well to get where they were. They beat some players that they weren't a co, but Pius is he's knocking at the door for Team
Yeah,
Europe, and for team work, rest of the world for that matter. Alexa, guys like that. So they beat some good players to get where
yeah,
they
for
got.
sure.
And so kudos to them. I mean, they put in the work. We'll see how it turns out in Hanoi. I hope that they don't, put their feet up in Hanoi and just enjoy the view. I want to see them just as determined in Hanoi as they were at the Perry, and see if we can get some good results there and get some momentum going.
I think I agree with you on everything, and the expectation between the two is vastly different in my opinion, when it comes to Billy and Skies, and when you think about the ceiling as well,
Yeah,
but like I mentioned earlier, all things considered, you'll hold on to those positives, and you're going to need as many positives as you can going into December, and so um, the expectation for them, I wouldn't have said, hey, I think they're going to make it into a final eight. The fact they did, fucking great, man. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah,
that's the momentum that you need. And right now, given how flat the year has gone, you want to hold on to momentum as much as you can, and you want to hold on to positives as much as you can. Those are going to be things that are going to give you some kind of hope when it comes to that event, because the score line just hasn't given you much hope over the last few years as it's been. So
great.
I'll take it. I'll gladly take it for sure. Um, Hanoi, look, you're going back to a proper matchroom event, 4-inch pockets, all these things. So, are you going to see the same result? I hope so. I would hope that they do. I wouldn't say I would bet money on them making a final eight. Skies, like I said, the standard's different. So, but and it took a loss to Fran last year to get him out of that event. Like he does pretty good when it comes to playing in Hanoi. So um,
Yeah,
and this is the time of year where you feel like, especially in Sky's instance, that he really just tightens up the belt and gets to work. This is when he collects the money. This is when it's time to earn it. And so you really got to put in the time and the effort if you're going to beat world class players. It took pretty much godlike performances from the players they lost to. Like Moritz beating Sky before Moritz wins. You're like, okay, it was close, maybe 50-50. Ko Ping Chung, the scoreline, you still, even though you would have thought of him as a favorite over Billy, you were not going to imagine a 10-1 or whatever victory. You know what I mean? So, but
right.
what are you going to do if the guy just fucking goes into God mode and plays out of his
Yeah,
mind?
he's not the first guy. He's not the first guy that Ko Ping Chung has dropped a big number
Ask
on.
Yap that. You know what I mean? How he feels about that. So,
Yeah.
but no, look,
Speaking of
sorry,
what's the match you're looking forward to most in the Hanoi
say that
Open,
again.
Mike? What's the match you're looking forward to most in the
Oh, you
Hanoi
tell me,
Open?
buddy. You tell me. I know you're teeing it up. Let's hear it.
Yip
Yip
against
and
Yap.
gets Yep. And
We got two players from Singapore, Yip and Yap. They have got to play each other. I just want to see that on the scoreboard.
look, there's gonna be some great matches for sure, Mike, and especially as this event starts blossoming out, and I hope we get more of more Harrys of the world, you know what I mean, come on the radar. I hope we get some more unknowns, kind of get an
Yeah,
opportunity.
well, that's tough one. Those are big shoes to fill there. I mean, nobody's expecting other regional tournaments to come out with $200,000 prize
No, no,
funds.
no, no, no. Let me ask you this, Mike. Given, and we talked about the Asian dominance over the course of the last few months, and deservingly so, do you think it's going to be another Asian winner, or is Team Europe going to start getting some more respect put on their flag?
in
Yeah,
Hanoi. Uh, you gotta figure Asian. I mean, I would. The field is, a lot. There's a lot of non-Asian great players who are in Bali,
yeah, yeah,
so that limits the field again from there.
drastically.
So yeah, so the field that and then you got like 33 Filipinos who decide to go to Hanoi.
Tough action.
So yeah, yeah, it's going to be. I would have to say that uh, that Asia is pretty favored to win Hanoi Open, an Asian player.
I agree. I agree with you. And I think it's low hanging fruit. Just given the year and the skill set you mentioned.
I don't know if it's a gimme. I mean, you still have some great non-Asian players in the field. I mean, Federer's in the field. That's certainly an option. Fran's in the field, that's an option. And so I don't know about low-hanging fruit.
I'll say it again. I think it's low hanging fruit, Mike. Listen, I love those guys. I hope they do well. All right. I hope they do well. It's tough action. There's so many monsters to go and fade out there, and I know, I know there's a lot of talent out there in Bali as well that are going to be, missing out on this. But um, Asians are just on a different type of level right now, and like, this is why I'll further value what Moritz did out there in Perry, because he was in a Final Four with 4 Taiwanese players, and I know we're
Yeah,
high on the Philippines, rightfully so, and high on the Chinese and all these things, but like Moritz, if you were to go and rank those 4 players, right? Wu Kun Lin, Ko Ping Yi, Ko Ping Chung, and Moritz. Moritz is maybe 3, maybe ahead of Wu Kun Lin, but it's close.
yeah,
You know,
probably, but not by much. I mean, Wu
yeah,
Kun
but I
Lin,
mean, like
he just
it would have, yeah. Wu Kun Lin's playing good, playing real good. You know, so but that's what I mean. Like what Moritz did out there in the Perry was just was exactly what he needed to do in order to put himself in this position to take that next step, to get a spot on a team and spoil some parties for some other players who kind of ride the wave of reputation to this point, you know. And so for that reason alone, I'm super happy for that young man, Mike. Like
yeah,
he did it the hard way, and he got there. So I hope he can cash that in, into an opportunity to get on Mosconi Cup, to get on the Reyes Cup, because you have to develop this next generation of stars, and he's doing it by earning it. You know what I mean? Versus
yeah,
social media or whatever else that they'll go and put a value on as well, Mike. So
yeah.
um,
I do like his chances for Reyes Cup, win or lose. I like his chances.
what do you think? Well, yeah, I think either way, Team World's going to be up against it. I think either way, and but
Yeah,
I
no
think
doubt.
you gotta get him seasoned, and there's only one way to do it is by sending his ass on out there, and the only way you're sending him out there is by him going and having some signature type wins, and so I think given what Double J will have in terms of options for picking, uh, he's the guy who, for me as well, locked up that fifth spot no matter what. $50 difference or not, whether he goes further than Fran or not, I'm still
Talking
picking
about
Moritz.
Reyes, or are you talking about Moscone, or are you talking about both?
Um, in this conversation, just mainly Reyes, but
Yeah,
I guess both, you know. But that's me.
yeah. I mean,
That's me.
I like
That's
his
me being fair to like
chances,
him earning
Moscone.
it though.
Yeah, somebody's got to make a good run to me to keep him out of Moscone, because unless someone comes like you know has a really good Hanoi and Philippines, then let's assume that Jason gets picked for team captain for Team Europe. I think he would like the idea of Moritz playing Moscone after getting his feet wet with Reyes, like he did with Mickey last year.
100%
I
he
think
would.
I
Hundred
think I
percent.
think Jason would buy into that for sure.
Yeah, well, and also given the fact that, like, if you're gonna have a rookie, which nobody wants to have a rookie, right? Let's just be real about
Right.
it, right? But if you're gonna have a rookie, him having a warm up match prior to Mosconi, you're gonna take that all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. So
talking about the Reyes Cup against the toughest team in the world as a warm up match for Mosconi.
Well, you got to figure if the kid's not gonna fold out there in Manila against Cole,
Oh,
Juan, Carlo, Chua, and whoever else, right? Like you got to figure.
I mean, really, the only thing you're really trying to prepare him for is the crowded alley pally. You're not preparing him like, you got to do well here because we're playing the Americans. You got to do well here so you can handle the pressure of a big crowd, a bunch of people screaming. That's what. See,
that's where I love Vietnam, and that's where what they did out there in Perry was great because is about as close as you can get to like, a chaotic environment as you can ask for. Now, and I don't know what the oohs and ahs were like in that arena because I mean I watched a little bit of the finals, but it was still a tough time for me to wake up, right? But any non-Asian guy against an Asian player is always going to be an underdog when it comes to fan favorites, So for him to kind of like weather that and do it like the comment in the chat, right? Like he did it in style too. He had some real convincing wins. He had some gritty wins. He pretty much like showed it all out there for me. I'm talking about break, poised, handling the crowd, right? The expectations as well. What was at stake for him personally also, Mike? Because like we mentioned, if you don't get there, you're not even going to be a part of this discussion. Today we are not we're not talking about Moritz making a Reyes Cup team or making a Mosconi Cup team unless he did what he did yesterday. And so that's like the cool part about it. Mike, are you gonna be around this week? Because I want to do a bunch of shows. There's so much pool going on. We got to do more and more stuff. So,
well, our buddy MV says every time you ask Mike if he's around tomorrow for another show, and Mike says yes, you never have a show the next day.
Call a spade a spade. You got to call me out on my bullshit too. So like I get it. Well, there's just
100% calling a spade
look,
a spade.
There's going to be so much stuff.
I'm around tomorrow, so just so you guys know, if we don't have a show tomorrow, it's not because I wasn't here.
Oh, so now Mike's just way throwing me under the bus here. Yeah, no, for sure. Look, I'm gonna be scoreboard watching. I'm gonna try to just change my schedule up a little bit to go to bed a little later, wake up a little earlier, and especially as the events
down. Tomorrow, Wednesday, let the event get rolling. Maybe Wednesday's better, whatever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for both events for that matter. Because you're gonna have we got dead money on both sides of the field. So let's get down to the meat and potatoes. MV's absolutely right, and I get it. But let's get down to the meat and potatoes, and then we can jump on in. I'll still try to do a show tomorrow, just unless there's some, dramatic stuff going on. But otherwise, listen, we may have.
Bally starts on Thursday.
No, they get going tomorrow, Mike.
World 8 Ball?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they get started with teams. I don't think World 8 Ball starts until
no. Well, I mean, just in general,
9th.
The event. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Maybe you guys in the chat.
Yeah. World 8 Ball starts on the 9th.
But the team's one I'm looking forward to too. Like really, all three of them I'm looking forward to. And this is where like you really got to give a lot of credit to the Pro Bird Series in terms of them. Like, look, I love the purity of the game, like anybody else to some extent, but the way that they've thought outside the box to make pool more compelling, you got to give credit to there as well, because they've had some like fun twists when it comes to men's and women's, this doubles, you know what I mean? Like there's been some different angles to go and look at, and I thoroughly can appreciate that from a fan standpoint, Mike. So, and you never know. I mean, look, we talk about Team Germany or Team Albania, but there's notoriously going to, like historically, there's always going to be a dark horse, right? And even though, like the Americans for that matter, look, Nick breaks 10 ball fucking great, and when you have Shane as well, like they could be a trap match for anybody, like obviously we'd want to see whether it's Federer and Shane or Shane and Sky, but like, you never know. Funny things can happen. So,
no, absolutely. Well, hey, if you're Nick, you're up because you're playing in your first world like doubles event, something like that. You already got to buy into the second round.
You got a what? I didn't see it.
Got a bye into the second round.
Oh, did he? Wow. Look, you guys
Well,
can
yeah,
check out.
him and Shane don't play until the round one is is 8 matches. And they're already.
Look, here's the deal, Mike, and I'll end the show here. But there's two conflicting events, obviously, but both of them can be great and respected in their own right, and both of them would be even more massive.
I'm gonna love the doubles.
Yeah. It's gonna be a fun dynamic.
They don't play Scotch doubles in this, do they?
Yeah, it's Scotch. You're swapping up. Scotch. Yeah. Yeah. How brutal will that be? I don't want to see. No, I want to see someone shit the bed.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to see someone go and fall a little short, but at the same time, you'll have somebody that's going to go and just pop on the map and kick the door wide open too. So inevitably, it happens in every single tournament. But given the drama of what could be versus what we're going to be left with, it'll still be great. It could be better.
Yeah.
From both sides of it. And so we'll see how the next week turns out. You guys can check out the Hanoi Open at WNT TV, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton on Facebook in terms of streams. I'll share them on Windows Open as well, and the same for the Pro Billiard Series. Go check out Pro Billiard TV. You guys can check out Pro Billiard Series website for the draw. I'll share that as well on Windows Open. So we'll try to do a show tomorrow, but if not, for sure by like Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll do a show. All right. You got anything else, Mike, before we get out of here?
No, all good.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you making time. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys in the coming days. Go enjoy some more.